stream up, and then we'll get underway. And I got the thumbs up. We are up and streaming. So welcome back to the special business meeting. We're picking this up again on item 4, which is a Brennan Park ice arena closure update. And just I have a few just quick notes before we get underway here. This item was added to the agenda to provide an update to council and the public on the current status of the ice arena closure and solutions that are underway. This isn't a public hearing. There isn't an opportunity for public participation directly in this meeting, but council has received many pieces of correspondence that they may pick up lines of questioning from for the meeting today. Council members may be available following the meeting, and I know many were in advance of the meeting to speak directly to the public. And I just wanted to remind everyone about the code of conduct here. And I'm not so much I'm worried about any outbursts, but we need space and quiet to do our work here today. So I know we're all going to keep our sticks on the ice. That's my only attempt at a pun that I will use today. So, but I will now turn it over to staff to run us through, introduce themselves and run us through the presentation. And I just also wanted to note, as this is coming up, we do have Councillor Stoner joining us today. She's participating remotely, and just wanted to acknowledge that she was here. Over to you, staff.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Julie Vengi, and I am the General Manager of Community Services. The purpose of today's presentation is to provide council and the community with an update on the temporary closure of the ice arena. I am joined this evening by Harmony Cornwall, who is the Director of Facilities, who's seated next to me. And online, we also have Kerry Hebden, who is our Consultant Mechanical Engineer from Stantec. Kerry has been assisting the district staff in assessing the issue and determining the appropriate remediation measures. To start off this presentation, I'll take you through the timeline of the issue and provide an overview of the renovations that are taking place at Brennan Park while we are maintaining accessibility of the public to the facility. Ms. Cornwall will then outline the cause. Ms. Cornwall and Mr. Hebden will outline the cause of the issue, our initial attempts to mitigate it, and the solutions that we have selected to remediate it. At this point in time, we are focusing all of our resources on remediating the issue to enable us to reopen the arena to the public as fast as is safely possible. Simultaneously, we are also working with the contractor team to further assess the root issue, to outline corrective actions and improve communication and risk analysis to minimise any further impacts of the renovation work on the ice arena. So yeah, just to reiterate, today's presentation is about the issue that we've got in front of us and how we're going to solve that. We will be conducting a root cause analysis to make sure we understand how we arrived at this point, and also to see if going forward there's ways that we can prevent that happening again. But that will be at a later time. Okay. So the following provides an overview of when a potential issue was identified and when it became unmanageable, resulting in closure of the ice arena. So in early August, elevated humidity levels were initially identified when preparations for ice making began. We were able to manage the issue with various mitigation measures until the Labor Day weekend, when the humidity levels spiked. As you would be aware, on September 2nd, significantly higher than anticipated levels of heat and humidity caused unsafe surface conditions on the ice, and the arena was temporarily closed as a safety precaution. Initial measures to address the issue, including the use of commercial-grade dehumidifiers during ice making, resulted in some reduction in the humidity. However, improvements were not adequate enough to sustain the required humidity levels that were needed to reopen the arena. The arena has remained closed since September 2nd, and as communicated through our last public update, will remain closed through till at least September 12. We do not have a confirmed timeline for the reopening of the ice arena at this time. However, as soon as we have, we will provide this information to the community and to user groups. We anticipate that we'll know more about the timelines for remediation once the required modifications have been made to enable the installation of the equipment, and Ms. Cornwall and Ms. Hebden will be able to speak to that. We do want to provide as much notice as possible to our user groups because we do know how difficult it is to make alternative arrangements for ice time. So today we have been advising user groups to secure alternate arrangements for the weekend, as it is likely that the weekend will still be required for remediation activities. So to put it in the context of what, in the larger context of what has been going on at Brennan Park itself. So as council and the community would be aware, phase 1 of the renovations, which was the Green and Accessibility Retrofit Project, is substantially underway at Brennan Park. So this is the $21 million project funded in part by $11.7 million from the Green and Inclusive Community Buildings Program. So that's from Infrastructure Canada. The scope of the work follows the grant requirements, which have strict guidelines of what can be built under the grant platform. The work being undertaken as part of this renovation is an important first step in retrofitting and improving the operating systems, along with increasing the accessibility of the site for our community. As you would understand, the renovations are extremely complex given the age of the facility, and in any renovation, unknowns always surface and new issues do arrive. Our team of contractors, subcontractors, and facilities planning and maintenance staff are dedicated to working through the humidity issue expertly, efficiently, and collaboratively. I'll now turn the presentation over to Ms. Cornwall and Mr. Hebden to take us through the cause of the issues and the solutions that we are working through.
We want to share that there is not one cause that can be pointed to as the sole reason for the closure of the ice rink. Rather, there are several conditions that stacked upon one another to create an untenable situation. I will ask Mr. Hebden to give an overview of the weather conditions we experienced leading up to and after the Labor Day weekend. I'll put it over to you, Carrie.
Thanks, Harmony. Yeah, from a buildings engineering perspective, what we have seen over the last couple of weeks is outside of the norm and classified as extreme. Building HVAC design is carried out at a minimum to conditions set forth in the British Columbia Building Code. For Squamish, that means a dry bulb temperature of 29 degrees Celsius and a wet bulb temperature of 19 degrees Celsius. And what that means, dry bulb, everyone is very familiar with. That's the temperature you experience out and about. Wet bulb temperature is the coldest temperature achievable by only evaporating water in the atmosphere. And the combination of the two give us the feature or the term we're all pretty familiar with at this point, I would say relative humidity, which is the amount of water that is in the air relative to how much water that air can hold. And what we have seen over the last period is conditions which vary substantially from that, whether it be the ambient temperature or the relative humidity. Looking at another metric called the ambient air humidity ratio, which is a measure of the actual amount of water vapor in the air, which is defined as a mass of water vapor per unit mass of dry air. In other words, how many kilograms of water is in a kilogram of dry air. And what we have seen when looking at the design conditions for Squamish is there should be about 0.001 kilograms of water in the air at the design conditions. What we have seen with significant periods of time during this extreme condition period is that number has been elevated by 25 to 35%. So there is a significant amount of additional water in the air that dehumidification equipment would need to overcome in order to maintain the desired indoor conditions. Back to you, Harmony.
Thank you, Carrie. In addition to the weather condition Mr. Hebden has outlined, all 4 of the dehumidifiers that service the ice rink have been taxed beyond their intended capacity, and the desiccant wheels, which are a key component of the units, are being replaced ahead of the expected life cycle. The arena lobby was temporarily removed as part of the renovation work, and although a hoarding wall was erected, the initial hoarding wall did not sufficiently seal the ice rink from the conditions from within the recreation center. While the arena lobby was under active construction, ducting and electrical reconfiguration to the existing air handling equipment reduced our control of the space immediately adjacent to the rink. So those are the combinations of items that we've currently identified that has caused the current situation. And we would like to speak now to the solutions that we're taking. As there is not one cause for the high humidity that led to the ice rink closure, a multi-pronged approach is being used to address the various conditions that led to this situation. As part of the validation of the solutions we received from vendors, we engaged the mechanical engineer from Stantec, Mr. Hebden, who is working on the Brennan Park renovation, to review the proposed equipment and solutions. And I'll pass it on to Kerry to speak to the commissioning of current equipment and his review of our proposed solutions we received from vendors.
Thanks, Harmony. So as part of the renovation project, new ventilation equipment is being installed for the lobby, the expansion into customer service, and parts of the pool changing area facilities. That equipment has been installed and is now operating full-time to provide fresh ambient air into the facility, helping maintain temperature. Additional to that, we have installed new cooling equipment designed to maintain space conditions inside the building. This is now functional and operating throughout the facility where possible during construction to help reduce humidity. And we've seen great success over the last week where conditions inside the renovated lobby pool areas have reduced significantly during this time. To combat the issues in the ice rink, put forward has been multiple solutions of industrial grade dehumidification systems to be installed on a temporary basis to increase the capacity of dehumidification for the ice rink, hoping to bring the conditions under control and allow the ice rink to reopen. What we have reviewed is a additional capacity of approximately 100% for the ice rink, overcome these abnormal conditions we have seen. The selected solution combines both dehumidification, cooling equipment, and air handling units, providing a comprehensive solution to provide clean, dry, cool air to the ice rink to help bring humidity under control and allow the ice building to be completed and maintained at safe condition.
Thank you, Kerry. Installing the industrial dehumidifiers, along with the equipment required to support this solution, is our priority. The replacement components for the existing dehumidifiers will be installed once they are on site. Draining the pool for the annual maintenance provided a modicum of improvement in the overall humidity levels. The temporary hoarding wall between the ice rink and the arena lobby has been shored up with additional sealing. With the renovations, we acknowledge the different operating conditions that are present this year versus prior years, and so we are in the process of replacing the Zamboni door to mitigate against any other contributing factors. We thank the community members that have reached out with offers of solutions and services and appreciate that everyone's goal is to solve the issue as quickly as possible. We do have procurement, risk management, and liability requirements to adhere to, along with BC Building Code considerations. And so our efforts have focused on solutions that align with these important aspects. We will continue to explore options we can layer on to the existing solutions. One option does include investigating a temporary entrance enhancement at the northeast corner where the arena is accessed from the outside. This includes consideration of a temporary container vestibule, also known as an air bubble entrance, to assist in managing airflow and temperature fluctuations. At this stage of the project, meaning the construction project, pausing the work would not help the current condition. The arena lobby renovations need to proceed so the missing partition wall can be reinstated and the new mechanical systems can be fully commissioned for this area.
Thank you, Harmony, and thank you, Mr. Hebden. So we absolutely understand that the community has a lot of questions about this issue. We did post on the district website an FAQ that contains information on the arena closure, the renovations, and background on facility planning, and we'll continue to update this FAQ as more information becomes available. We also will continue to liaise directly with user groups and make sure that they have as much information in advance as possible. We understand that this being without an open arena, without an open arena is not a situation that anyone wants to find themselves in, and we are committed to resolving it as soon as safely possible. Thank you. With that, in closing, the recommendation is that Council receive this update for information. Oops. And then, yes, open it up to questions from council if there are any.
Okay, thank you. So, Council, before I open the floor to questions, I just have a couple quick reminders. One is that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed now, and will be available to review on the website shortly following the meeting. So, if anyone wants to refer back to what was said here, I just wanted to pick up that and reiterate that the root cause analysis will be carried out once the issue has been resolved, and that's not what we're here to sort of litigate today. This is really to do our best to answer the questions that we all have, and work towards getting the ice rink back operational as soon as possible. And I just want to, there's another, before we enter into this conversation, just the scope of council's discussion may be limited due to the privacy and access legislation of BC, and our corporate officer is available to keep us on side of that if we run into that. So it's a reminder both for council and for the public that there may be some things we're just not able to discuss at this point in time. But maybe that won't be a factor. So we'll get underway. So council, questions. Start with Councillor French.
Thank you, Mayor Herford. I wonder if staff might, for context, help us out with a little bit of information on the way this project is being managed. I've heard the phrase IPD. Could you tell us more about what that is and how it is influencing the way this project is being done?
Thank you for the question through the chair. The Brennan Park renovation project in the current phase is done through an integrated project delivery, or a CCDC 30. And that is a collaborative project approach where all the consultants and subcontractors that form the core part of the group are in a contract together as a partnership. Everyone comes together at the onset before design happens. They validate the project. And as we go through the project together, everyone is in step with each other. We are a team. We meet every Wednesday. We talk through progress, challenges, and mitigation efforts. And I think I'll stop there for further questions if that gives a good summary.
Okay, so with that, is it fair to categorize this project management style as more collaborative than sort of more traditional ways of managing projects of this size and scope?
Absolutely. The other project methodologies are linear, where this is a collaborative, iterative process.
Okay, I'm curious about contingency. I have a recollection of the early days of when council was dealing with approvals for this project, and some of the money details. There was a specific line item about contingency, and I don't have a recollection, and I haven't gone back to look at it. Could you tell us about contingency amounts and whether or not we're dipping into the contingency to deal with what we have in front of us right now?
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, I don't have the numbers in front of me today and can absolutely get those. I will speak in general about the contingencies for this project, and there are two types of contingencies. There is a contingency or risk register held within the IPD, the Integrated Project Delivery Project. And in addition to that, we have a owner-held contingency. At this point in time, until we do our root cause analysis, we are not certain where the coverage for this solution is going to come from. We are going to start from a place of the owner-held contingency and work with our IPD team to discuss what portion, if any, it belongs within that project.
Mayor, will you allow me one more?
I'll go one more, but there are lots of questions around the table. So I do have Councillor Pettingill and Councillor Stoner lined up behind you, but go ahead.
Okay, so I'm reading from the frequently asked questions that was posted to the district website fairly recently. The specialized equipment, I think this is a reference to dehumidifiers, is being transported to Squamish, and there are parts that are also being flown in, is what I see here. Could you talk to us about where the specialized equipment is coming from and where these parts are being flown in from? Like, are we talking Halifax, Germany, Langley? What kind of distances are we?
It's a good question. Thank you. Through the chair. There's two pieces there that you referred to. So I will speak to the components for the existing dehumidifiers, and those are being flown in from Alberta. And then when we talk about the specialized equipment, which is the solution, the temporary solution, that's coming from locally within the Lower Mainland for parts of it, and other parts are coming from Edmonton.
All right. Thanks, Mayor Herford.
Thank you. Councillor Pettingill, and then Councillor Stoner on deck.
Yeah, a couple questions. One, we did hear that we started seeing, if I heard correctly, started to see challenges in early August. And I know I don't think it's our practice to sort of sound alarms every time something might be going a little wrong, but obviously there has been significant impacts in terms of planning and so on. I'm just wondering if you can speak to if this has adjusted or our thoughts going forward, I guess, given where we are in terms of how proactive we plan to be in terms of, hey, it's not a problem yet, but we're seeing a challenge. We want to give people a heads up. Can you give us a sense of where we think we might be, or is it too early to assess that? Or
Thank you for the question through the chair. I can attempt to answer to the point where we are today, but I do believe that is part of the more fulsome root cause analysis and what we learn and how we manage things as we continue to iterate and do better. The flag was raised, and what we have learned from our operations team is that once the ice is in, we can expect an increase or decrease in the relative humidity level just by the virtue of the ice being in. And we were perhaps overly reliant on that, but we were hopeful as well that that was going to be the case. And I don't know, Carrie, if I'm misspeaking there, if there's anything else you would add to the situation once the ice would have been put in.
No, I think you've got it there, Harmony. Yeah, once the arena is flooded, you will see a spike. But then as that water freezes, that's the root cause of that drop in humidity once the ice is fully built. So the expectation there is not misplaced. Unfortunately, in this situation, the required change was not achieved.
Yep, go ahead, Councillor.
And then on a slightly different topic, I've heard some comments or questions and seen it in a few emails. I think there's a public expectation with the cost and the scope of the project, an expectation of a significant and sort of constant level of activity around the whole project. And perception of some is that at times it has seemed there's been very little activity. And I'm just wondering if you can speak to, given this project and it's a complex project, what sort of level on an ongoing basis should people expect? Is it, the nature of the project, there will be a week where there's a ton of people and a few days where there's very little people on site, or should it be constant on site? Or can you just speak to?
Yes, thank you for the question through the chair. If I could ask a clarification, are you referring to the seeking a solution for the rink or the project in general?
The project in general.
I think that is a difficult question to give a brief summation of. I think that it's going to ebb and flow. There's going to be some work that happens behind the construction hoarding wall that the public is just not going to see. The large number of tradespeople on that site daily, they're not visible to the public if they're coming in and out. If I can just also address the ice rink piece, I can say that our full-time efforts have been put towards a solution, and our team is doing its best to maintain a certain level of planing of the ice as we get ready for a solution where the humidity will be at a point where we can reopen. So all of those efforts may not be visible with seeing a lot of people on site, but work is happening on both the renovation and the solution.
Okay, Councillor Stoner and then Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, thanks to staff for the update, for the community for being here, for continuing to ask good questions, and for what I heard is a number of offers of solutions and solutions-oriented discussions. I have a few questions that this presentation has raised, and my first one is just around the timeline of the renovation. And I'm just curious if are we currently on schedule as expected? Carrie identified that this was a really unique set of circumstances that led to this really high level of humidity, but is there anything that we could have done in our construction timeline to address any of these components, or are we kind of like on track and it was just a number of other things that happened?
Through the chair, thank you for the question. I would say that the delivery of the arena lobby is approximately 2 weeks behind the schedule, but there are other activities we're doing concurrently to achieve our end date as planned. But again, as my colleague mentioned, there is a lot of complications when you are renovating a building that is still trying to operate and the age of that building. To answer what I believe is the question is, do we think that if we were not delayed, if this situation would have been mitigated? And I believe the answer to that is no. I think we would have still experienced a level of disruption.
Okay, thank you for that. My follow-on is that I heard from you, Harmony, that we can't delay the current project, but that wouldn't be useful. I am curious about like expediting the project. Are there elements of this that would help? Like if we just like threw more resources at it and got it built quicker, is that the answer?
Thank you for the question. Through the chair, we could always put more resources towards it. That usually equates to additional dollars. And there's also an order of operations of items that need to occur, specifically for the arena lobby. What ultimately is going to be the final step before saying that it is complete, we need to do fire stop spray, which is one of it is a significant step in getting that arena lobby completed, and all the steps preceding that require either lead time or curing time. So there's a lot of complications, not to say it's not possible, but to say it at this time to keep the schedule as it is and not pull resources from other parts of construction, because this isn't the sole part, and to keep it on budget, we believe that the best path forward is to continue as we are.
Okay. And then I am just curious about do we have like an order of magnitude estimate cost for the interim solutions that we are exploring? So I appreciate and I hear you say that we are not entirely sure who bears that cost, but I am curious what the order of magnitude of the cost is.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, we've received a quote for 4 weeks that we've asked the vendor to update to 8 weeks to ensure that we have coverage until the arena lobby is complete, and we have assurances that when the pool is reopened after its annual maintenance, that the increased humidity in the area will not impact the ice rink. So we are estimating a cost of $160,000 for the full solution, which includes delivery and installation.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton.
Thanks very much. This question is likely for Mr. Hebden, from an engineering perspective. And I know as an engineer, it's going to be hard to put a probability on something unless you've done an analysis of it. I'm there with you, I understand. But could you, from your experience, estimate what you believe the probability of the current solution, the humidifiers, resolving the issue? It's certainly not 100%. Just not because nothing's 100%.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Through the chair, yes, like you say, it's nothing's certain. We have looked at it from the perspective, if this was a new installation, what size equipment would we be looking to install? Obviously, given the timeframes, that's been a bit of a napkin exercise, but the procured equipment in conjunction with the existing equipment meets those loads. So we are fairly confident that once installed, this will resolve the issue and the ice rink would be up and running. if you were to have me throw a percentage at it, 85, 90% is probably where we would stick it.
Thanks very much. And as we all know, Squamish tends to get wetter as we get closer into the fall. And if you look at the relative humidity index, the average monthly humidity index, we sort of go up. Actually, I didn't know this until I looked into it. September's average is around 83%. October's average goes up to about 92%. So we actually have an increase in the relative humidity on average in Squamish through September, October, and November. Are the dehumidifiers and the equipment, are they sized appropriately to accommodate the expected increase in relative humidity over the coming weeks and months?
Thank you for the question. Through the chair, the deceptive thing with relative humidity is it is a proportion of the ambient air's ability to carry water relative to its saturation point. And so what you find is when the temperature decreases, its ability to hold water also decreases. So yes, relative humidity may be increasing, but the key metric to look at here is that the ambient humidity ratio, which is the measure of the actual physical amount of water being carried, and that will be decreasing too. So as the temperature cools off, don't be alarmed with increased relative humidity. The amount of water is actually decreasing. So yes, we are confident that as the weather cools off, we still have sufficient dehumidification capacity to overcome those scenarios.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Brennan, I see your hand. I have some questions of my own, and then I'll come to you next. Sorry, in the presentation, I think I picked up that some new HVAC equipment came online in the midst of this. Was that since the closure? Or I just want to make sure I have the timeline right and I understand everything that's all the moving pieces here.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. Through the mayor, that is correct. We did bring it on. It was scheduled to come online. We were able to bring some parts of the system online as part of the mitigation strategy and worked with Kinetic and the IPD team to do so. We can't bring the entire system online because we don't want to go out of order on the construction schedule, but we did see some improvement by bringing in on these new systems online.
Okay, thank you. And then the pieces of the puzzle to resolve this being some pieces for their new permanent system and the temporary system. I'm assuming these aren't plug and play. There'll be some setup time when it's there. Is it safe to assume we're preparing for their arrival, and I hope that's what's happening, but then also, like, what sort of timeline are we looking at once they arrive on site? I know that folks might be driving by and having a look, and the dehumidifiers are here. So do we have some sort of understanding of once these things arrive on site, what the timeline would be to get them operational?
Yes, thank you. Through the mayor, we do have a timeline, and there's a few dependencies, so I can't say when the clock will start ticking, but we know that it's going to take the vendor over 10 hours for the installation. We know that our IPD team is standing up and helping us with some new penetrations into the building because we cannot leave the doors open. So we are going to have to put some permanent holes in the building that will then be taken care of afterwards. We need, once that work is done, and some of that work with the penetrations and the connections cannot happen until the equipment is placed and measurements in place are taken. The generator we need an electrical permit, and the generator needs to be commissioned. And once all of that is done, we need 24 to 36 hours to get the humidity level to the point where we have the optimal operating condition. And because the staff has been maintaining the ice as much as they can during this closure, we don't anticipate needing a lot of time once that condition is met, but we will need some time. So there are a few unknowns there, and we hope to share with the public and council once we have the equipment in place and we are starting those final connections.
Okay, thank you for that. That's helpful. I think the timeline that we said definitely it's not going to open before Friday, but we heard that we're going to need some time through the weekend. How when will we be able to have when would you feel more comfortable giving a crisper reopen date? And just, is that something we should be expecting, tomorrow or at the end of the week, or like, just when do you think that'll start to crystallize now that we have a solution, we've procured it, and we have an understanding of sort of the next steps?
Thank you for the question. We anticipate having updates through tomorrow and Thursday. I don't want to commit because we're pushing the vendor to get the equipment earlier than they had promised. So I don't want to overpromise nor give anyone cause for concern with a date today. But I think that we can give updates very soon.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm going to go back around. I'm going to go to Councillor Pettingill.
Yeah, just following up on Councillor Stoner's question about sort of order of magnitude. And, I understand we still have to do some more examination to understand which contingency this comes from. But my understanding of IPD is often the way contingency is managed is not from a contingency fund, but through modification of scope. And while 100 some odd thousand is not 21 million, it's not a trivial amount. Do we know yet if we're looking at having to adjust project scope down, or is this something where there is sort of contingency dollars and we're not expecting loss in scope of things we thought we would be delivered because of this?
That's a good question. Thank you. Through the chair, we do not have that determination today. There are risk registers. There is a form of contingency that is held within the IPD, and when Ms. Bailey came to council, I think in the spring, and requested a owner-held contingency, it was to cover us for these eventualities of anything that may come out outside of the IPD. We're still hopeful that we'll either have it covered through the project or a combination of, but I just can't answer that today.
Okay, and then one other question. So, we think we've got a solution. We're hoping this gets us active there quite soon. But looking a little further forward, because I hear like we're going to have to put some new holes in the building and those are going to have to come out at some point. Are there in the future significant additional risk points, or is this, once we're over this, all the real risk is done? It's sort of smooth sailing from here on out, or are there other places that we should be aware? Like it might be a bit touchy in 2 months or 1 month, or?
Thank you for the question through the chair. Once the renovation project is complete and we are beyond this current extreme weather condition, today I cannot foresee what those future risks may be. However, we're not going to rest on that, and that will be part of our lessons learned and debriefing, is understanding, is there anything else that contributed to this situation, and what can we do to mitigate it? What we're comfortable with today is making sure that this season continues as quickly as possible.
But just to be more clear, and maybe I'm just missing something. So we get a solution to this very quickly. Are we then expecting the project to complete very quickly following that, and therefore the minimal risk to the rest of the season, or any risk to the rest of the season is minimal? Or are there still things that we should expect? There might be significant other risk points in the project and those are undetermined, or those are actually known, like, hey, yeah, like in 2 months, we're going to have to pull these holes out of the building and we're going to do our best, but that's a risk point. Or
thank you through the chair. That is a risk point, and it's a new risk point that we're going to have to manage and make a plan for. In terms of the project, the duration of the 8 weeks of the rental is to bring us to when the arena lobby is completed. The hoarding wall will be replaced by the new permanent partition, and it should be regular operating conditions at that point, with an enhanced HVAC system, a heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system servicing the building.
And I'm just trying to be precise here. So I think what I heard earlier, though, is we think that's at 4 weeks from now-ish. We've got an 8-week rental to cover us in case. So are we talking 1 to 2 months kind of to fundamental project completion and sort of major risk done within that window?
Thank you for the clarification question, and I will rephrase what I said earlier because I can see the confusion that I created. We received a 4-week quote, and we're recommending to extend it to an 8-week quote because we know that it's going to take another 8 weeks to get the arena lobby completed.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Stoner, then French. Go ahead, Councillor Stoner.
Thank you. Through the chair, the description that you just provided helped me a little bit. My question was going to be, what was the timeline for the lobby renovation work? And what I hear is that's 8 weeks. And at that point, we think that we'll be pretty certain that we will no longer need the commercial dehumidifiers. Is that correct?
Thank you. Through the chair, yes, that is correct.
And so if I may also reframe this, we're putting $160,000 into an 8-week temporary solution.
Thank you. Through the chair, yes, that is correct.
Can I just clarify what other options staff pursued in terms of, again, either advancing the pace of construction, doubling down on what is there, or what other options? Apologies to the folks in the room, delaying the season for longer for $160,000.
Thank you. Through the chair. And I would like to just indicate as well, we've confirmed with the vendor that if anything were to happen with the project and we were able to move things forward or conditions are improved to such an extent that we no longer feel we need the industrial dehumidifiers, that we are able to pay based on the amount of time we do keep them on site. So that is a ceiling amount, and I have every hope that we can reduce it, but we are planning for the entire amount to ensure we don't open and have to reclose. I think we did go through some of the problem solving that we did leading up to coming to this solution, and none of those solutions worked. We shored up the wall between the arena lobby and the ice rink. We brought in, I think, 15 commercial grade dehumidifiers. We commissioning the HVAC system premature or in advance of the regular schedule. Those are all items we tried, and it just we were not able to keep on top of the extreme weather condition and all these other factors that layered onto that condition. Don't know, Carrie, if there's anything else you would add to that.
Thanks, Hammy. No, I think that's fairly comprehensive.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to Councillor French.
Mayor Herford, never in my life did I expect I would become a dehumidifier nerd. It is happening. So I'm curious to know, is this process taking advantage of refrigerant, also known as compressor dehumidifiers, or desiccant dehumidifiers, or is it a combination of the two systems?
Thank you. Through the chair, and I will have to rely on Carrie if you get more technical than that, but I will tell you that they are desiccant dehumidifiers. We're bringing in 10,000 CFMs, and we're also bringing in a chiller to help pre-cool the air.
Okay, and I have one more. I'm recalling back to many months ago when there was a humidity issue in the swimming pool due to some equipment there that stopped functioning or needed repair or something. And I have a recollection of the workplace being very uncomfortable for some of the staff members. So I'm looking for some reassurance that the folks who are working on the renovation project and our Brennan Park staff members are working in safe conditions, and that the conditions are being monitored to ensure that their health and wellness is protected.
Thank you for the question. Yes, I can assure everyone that the working conditions, while they are in a renovation project, a live renovation project, that there's noise and construction debris, there is not an unsafe condition for our team, and we review that as safety is a utmost priority on the IPD team and Kinetic, the main contractor.
Thanks, Mayor Herford.
Thank you. Council, this is a situation where we have, we've received an update from staff and they've been made available to answer our questions. We don't have a decision before us here. So the recommendation is to receive the report. I just want to check with council, see if that's where we are, if there's additional questions that could be answered before we move for that. I don't see any hands. Or Councillor Pettingill, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand then with some of the numbers we're talking about and this $160,000 we're talking about, which is the ceiling. Am I correct? That's only the rental and that's not sort of additional alterations, holes in the wall and removal, like that's additional, or is that 160 sort of all in?
Thank you for the question through the chair. The additional penetrations and connections are going to be covered by the project. The IPD team is taking care of those through the project. So the rental is all in terms of the equipment. The consumables for the generator will be an additional cost, but we are bringing in a fuel tank and should not have to refuel overly much, but it should be within the parameters of what we've asked for as a budget.
So will there be a point where we understand, even like regardless of what fund is covering the pieces, where we understand the total cost of this and not just the rental of the dehumidifiers?
Thank you through the chair. Our vendor has provided calculations based on the load on the generator at 75%, how long it will run, and that it will need to run at a higher level to do the initial reduction of the humidity. And then to retain that humidity level will be at a lesser load on the generator. So those calculations are available. I just don't have them with me this evening.
So I'll take a swing. I think I know where you're trying to get us, Councillor Pettingill. I think the question is, or at least the question I have coming out of that, which I think might be the same question, Councillor Pettingill, is after the dust settles and folks are back in the facility and we've done our root cause analysis, at what point will we see the full financial impact of this and whatever other challenges, hopefully lesser challenges than this, like when will we see that project update? Should we expect that to be part of our quarterly facilities progress update, or is staff thinking there's a specific piece in relation to this issue or this part of the project? Because I appreciate that there's other we've got the $160,000 in the equipment rental, but even though others are covering those costs it's still a cost, and sort of like really understanding the scope and the impact of that. I think is that the question you're generally trying to get at, Councillor Pettingill? I don't know if that's helpful. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification and the question. I would suggest that the key project quarterly updates would be an appropriate time for us to look at that. The next one that is scheduled, this solution won't be complete, and that we should still have the temporary equipment on site, but we can give an update on cost spent to date and what we anticipate. And then at the Q4 key project update, we would have the full reconciliation.
Okay, thank you. Does that answer your question, Councillor Pettingill? Most of?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we understand like the generator rental, the holes in the wall and the repair and all those pieces of total cost of this incident, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, go ahead.
And just to make sure that I spoke clearly, that the generator rental is part of that 160.
Okay, thank you. Council, if there's, I'm not seeing any further questions here, so I'll be looking for a motion to receive the report, and then we'll do a round of comments. Be moving receipt. Councillor French moves receipt. Councillor Hamilton seconds. Would you like to speak to it? Go ahead, Councillor French.
Thank you, Mayor Herford. Thank you to the hockey parents that are here and watching online to understand what has happened, what we're up against, and what the proposed solutions are. I have, like the rest of my council colleagues, a lot of correspondence over the last couple of days on this issue. Some of it poorly informed, some of it well informed, and I appreciate that time has been taken by you folks to be here and to hear firsthand exactly where we're at. And I also am thankful to our staff who have, I think, done an excellent job of being detailed enough yet concise so that we're not spending our entire evenings until 10 o'clock here hashing through engineering specifics that would fly over my head anyway. So I really, this is just about receiving the report. So I think that at this point, I'm grateful that we have expertise to guide us through this, and I'm thankful that we have understanding parents of our young hockey players, our young skaters, who will continue to be constructive in getting in sharing feedback as we get through this difficult project. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Councillor Hamilton?
Yeah, thanks very much. Like Councillor French, thank you to all the parents who are out here voicing their concerns, their frustration, and maybe their outrage. I understand, and thank you for doing it in such calm way. I do understand where it's coming from. As many of you know, I'm also a swim parent and have gone through almost the exact challenge that you're facing right now. Having said that, I know what you want is you want to know when the solution is there, and so you can make a plan to move forward. I apologize. I cannot provide that, and I hope you understand. I hope you can see why. But even bigger than that, I want to apologize for whatever decisions I have made or not made in my role as councillor that have led us to this point. Because ultimately, the responsibility for maintaining our facilities, having our community function, comes to this table and the decisions that we make here. So I apologize for whatever decisions I've made that have led us here. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson?
Thank you. This particular term of council, we're dealing with some major construction projects, a little bit unusual, but going back some years, we have had facility management episodes. We've had construction project issues come forward. And I just wanted to express my appreciation for a particular comment made by staff this evening. And I'll do my best to quote, "We appreciate solutions and services offered from the community." I appreciate that comment from staff because during these episodes and issues that come forward, we do hear from the public, and there are members of the public, businesses in the community with sophisticated knowledge or significant experience. I think that we should pay respect for this. So I really appreciate the courtesy of that remark. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stoner?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. I do very much appreciate the update from staff and the amount of effort that's gone into trying to find a solution as expeditiously as possible. To all the hockey, figure skating parents in the room, volunteers who make these programs run day in and day out, year over year, and are going above and beyond right now to get their kids to ice time in other communities. I hear and I see how much extra effort is going in, and I know that that is really, really difficult. I am very much aware that any delay is a huge challenge, and I see the commitment from all the folks around the table to try and get a solution up and running as quickly as possible. And that there's commitment around this table from our staff, from, as Councillor Anderson just mentioned, offers from the community to make that happen. And if it takes additional resources to make it happen as quickly as possible. Sometimes we can't move equipment faster, even though we wish we could. And so for that, I appreciate the patience that is being shown in this scenario. To Councillor Hamilton's point in terms of taking ownership of some of this, I will echo that. We also knew that going in for a renovation of an older building and trying to run programming at the same time, as much due diligence as we could do, that there were going to be hiccups along the way. And this is the first major hiccup, and we're well a year and a half into this project. And so no time is a good time for a hiccup in a renovation project. And I can't say that we totally thought it was going to be 100% smooth sailing. We can cross our fingers and toes, and we all know that renovation projects are hard. I will happily talk to any and everybody about the decisions that have been made in the past in order to prioritize renovation above a brand new facility. That I think is a conversation for another day, and I'm happy to go into the details. And I still think if I reflect back on that past decision that I was part of, that was still the right decision to make. And if we look forward and into the future, I'm more than happy to have additional conversations on how we can get creative and get funding to the table in order to build a second ice rink, a second pool, and the additional facilities that we know our community deserves. So thanks everybody for being here this evening and for the update provided.
Thank you, Councillor Stoner. Councillor Penigo.
Yeah, and I'm still digesting what I've heard. So, this isn't I think the final conclusion of my thoughts about this whole thing. But I guess one thing I've heard and reflecting to some of the pool stuff, an observation is on our side, I think we try really hard to make sure everything we put out is rock solid and 100% accurate. And I think I'm hearing, and it's maybe something that we are really learning this time as we see, we started running into challenges in early August, which people might have appreciated knowing that. I think we maybe need to think about the community's appetite and capacity to maybe take information we don't have all the answers yet, and there are to sort of open the doors more about here's a bunch of the unknowns, here's the things we're struggling with, and maybe weigh a little less towards the sort of 100% this is what's going on. And so that's one thought I have. The other one, this number is challenging, and I don't think as a council it's feasible or reasonable, and we don't have the expertise to weigh in on every challenge and every engineering decision. But I know that people are making a lot of scheduling changes and so on, and maybe this is something to follow up on afterwards. It's not clear to me that if we get this thing open after the weekend or whatever, that we may have gone past the point of no return, where the actual impact now, because we're so far along of $200,000 by the time all things are in, doesn't actually have the intended benefit in terms of a hockey season and so on. And so are we spending $200,000 and not really helping people? Have they already made arrangements and commitments to go to Vancouver for the rest of the season? And so on those sorts of decisions, that is maybe a place where, man, that would be a hard decision to have as a council of do we say we're shutting it down as opposed to spending $200,000 to keep it open? I don't know. We didn't have that discussion. That seems to me like that might be a discussion that in the future council might want to have. Where we are now, we're on a path. We've made commitments, and so I think we should keep going on that. But that's another piece that it's still spinning around in my head a little bit.
Thank you. Few things here. I think I'd like to echo my council colleagues' appreciation for everybody that's come out today, including the young and some not so young hockey players on the street. Made me really think about the opportunity that we have with our open street day, and that hockey should absolutely be a part of that going forward. So that might be a discussion for another day. But also for the clear and discussions that we've been able to have both in person and the large amount of correspondence we've seen on this matter. We council as a whole, I hear around the table a lot of concern for the disruption and more broadly to ensure that our facilities meet the needs of the community. We are in a challenging place with our facilities, and I think the decision to renovate and operate at the same time was the right decision at the time, rather than to close and to do the renovation and reopen to the community. And it introduced the element of risk that we're experiencing now. And I'm confident that we have the ability in both on our team internally and our partners in this project to address this issue. And I'm happy that it's been that there's available contingency, yet to be determined exactly where from, available to address this, so that we're not sitting here tonight having a discussion about whether or not we should be spending this $200,000 for this 8-week solution, which is north of $3,000 a day, if I do my math right, to ensure that we have this facility up and running. So we had that contingency there, and we're using it. That's what contingencies are for. And I do look forward to the root cause analysis and that coming forward, so we can really understand what process improvement we can implement in future projects, including future projects at Brennan Park. And I think I will go into that part next, future of Brennan Park. We know that recreation is broadly is really important to the community. That takes many forms. We know there's a desire for an additional sheet of ice, as well as an expanded swimming pool, and there's a long list. And where we set those priorities and where we get into the understanding the complexities of doing that and what will actually be required to do that is during our budget process. Budget kicks off next week, and we start looking at and discussing. Ultimately, a budget process is really about community priorities. And that's where we have those discussions. And I encourage everyone here to participate as much as they can in that process, because we have very real financial realities to deal with, and we're weighing broad community values and aspirations and needs. So that's going to be a place for that. And I fully expect to be discussing the timing and scope of future Brennan Park during that process. And I encourage everyone to please to continue to be engaged. I know hopefully we'll have you distracted playing hockey, and the heat will be off a little bit on this particular part of the issue. But I think broadly that those community priorities and that budgeting process is where we really nail down what happens and when, and we can flesh out as best we can the actual what it would take to achieve these things in the timeline that we would like. So thank you to my council colleagues for the discussion today, and particularly to staff for being able to come before us here. We're just over a week into a closure. For everyone that's watching or in the room, our normal process for a staff report is that it comes in 2 weeks before it is published, so that it can be reviewed by all departments and make sure that it's accurate, so that council's making decisions and the community is being communicated the most accurate information possible. So to have the amount of detail that we had here today in that short time frame, I think was really remarkable. And I do look forward to that more fulsome report on the root cause analysis and so on going forward. But thank you for the update and your work today. And ultimately, the successes and failures of our initiatives absolutely rests around this table, and I don't think that anyone here takes that responsibility lightly. So we'll continue to move that work forward as we can, and look forward to have everyone back in the rink as soon as possible. So with that, I'll call the questions. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now I'll be looking for a motion to terminate this meeting. Councillor Hamilton moves and Councillor French seconds. Any opposed to ending the meeting? Seeing none, I will adjourn the meeting.